Annyeonghaseyo, welcome to the land of Korean cinema. When I saw that there's a new mystery thriller series starring Yoo Jae-myung, I got super excited. He's such an underrated actor, he can play the most hateful or the most lovable person ever. Or both, as he did in the show Stranger, for example. So let's talk about Hometown or Hometown. The show stars Yoo Jae-myung, Han-yeori, Tae-goo, who's also a great actor, check out his latest movie Night in Paradise, and the young girl called Lee. Oh, and also cassette tapes, videotapes, and rain. Lots and lots of rain. The year is 1999. Yoo Jae-myung is a detective who's investigating a series of strange murder cases that are happening in a small town. As he dives deeper, the case just gets weirder and weirder. Apparently, mysterious videotapes are being distributed among the residents. Cassette tapes appear with weird noises on them, there's a killer ghost, a religious cult, and God knows what else. I wish I could say superlatives about this series, especially because it has everything going for it. It has a very strong atmosphere, the actors are fantastic, and the story is intriguing to say the least. Unfortunately, this show is an absolute mess. The best thing I can say about it is that it's intriguing beyond belief. And as the episodes go by and we start to see more pieces of the puzzle, it just gets even more interesting. Because each new information just makes the whole thing even more confusing than it already is. Especially because the whole murder case is apparently connected to a terrorist attack that had happened in the town in 1987. And the circumstances of that event are just as confusing as the current case. So naturally, I, as a viewer, had a lot of questions, and that's what kept me watching this show. And also the fact that I'm a fan of Yoo Jae-myung and Tae-goo. Unfortunately, I'm really sad to say that the show doesn't provide any satisfying answers to any of my questions. This story is incredibly complex, there are lots and lots of storylines that are interconnected, but they never actually become coherent. I think the problem lies in the writing. The writer just couldn't handle a story of this magnitude, and because of that, the whole show just falls flat on its head. I'm saying all this while having to admit that the second half of the show is significantly better than the first. Unfortunately, the last episode is painfully underwhelming. I was pretty much shaking my head throughout the whole episode because nothing made any sense whatsoever. Also, the fact that there are these cursed videotapes instantly reminded me of the Ring movie, with the exception that no girl is crawling out of the TV set this time. But the influences don't just stop there. As I said, there are lots and lots of storylines. There's a detective who's investigating, there's Han-yeori whose niece gets kidnapped so she tries to find her, and there are some classmates of her niece who are also set out to find her. And since the show sometimes brings some horror into the picture, I couldn't help but be reminded of Stranger Things. But Hometown never gets as lighthearted as Stranger Things, nor does it deliver on the horror front. Or on the thriller front for that matter. This is a pretty boring show to be honest. And then there's Tae-goo, whose talents are completely wasted here. He's a prisoner and for the most part he's being interviewed in prison. Because apparently it's actually him who's behind all of this. He seems to have superhuman capabilities by which he's able to manipulate people around him. Wanna know why and how? You never will because it's never explained. He says about 3 sentences about that in episode 11, and what he describes is basically the same as yogis usually describe enlightenment. But I don't think that enlightened beings wanna kill off a bunch of people. If enlightenment even exists, that is. One other problem is the pacing. This show is 12 episodes long, but it easily could have been just 10. There's a lot of repetition, and the runtime only gets stretched out because certain characters simply just don't want to share information. Instead, they decide to speak in riddles. Wanna see how Tae-goo is in the show? He's sitting on a table and says things like this. 무슨 일 있는지 알고 싶죠? 근데 제가 아무 말도 안 할 거예요. With all that said, he was fantastic in episode 11. Credit where credit is due. But really, my biggest issue is the lack of satisfying answers. How can Tae-goo manipulate people? I don't know. How can people be possessed by the videotapes? I don't know. Why does the mysterious ghost kill people? I don't know. Why does the ghost even exist? I don't know. What is Tae-goo's agenda? I don't know. How do certain characters get to certain places where they find clues? Because the writer wants to, that's why. What does the strange symbol mean that's found everywhere? I don't know. It's such a shame because Yoo Jae-myung is trying his absolute best and he's indeed very likable. Han-yeori was really good too. And Lee also really surprised me with her performance. And as I said, the atmosphere is definitely there and I was very much interested in the whole story. But the whole thing fell apart unfortunately. Hometown is a show of great potential that never gets realized. I'm gonna give this show 60%. If you feel like watching it, don't let this stop you. Maybe it's gonna work for you just fine. For me, this is a massive disappointment. 여러분, 오늘은 여기까지만 해요. 영상 봐주셔서 감사합니다. 이 영상 좋아하면 구독과 좋아요 잘 부탁드립니다. See you very soon. 다음 시간에 만나요 여러분. 안녕히 계세요. Bye.